Hey, I'm Ben. This is my wife, Andrea. We're on a farm here in Central Arkansas. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, we raise cows, pigs, all kinds of animals, and we do it from start to finish for a meat business.
So we just want to say welcome to VW Family Farm. So today we're going to kind of take you around our farm, our operation. Just keep in mind we are farming a large area. Really, probably what's more considered a medium farm. This is not a huge thousands and thousands of acres farm by any means, but it's not a tiny micro farm either. But anything you see on our farm and our channel, you can scale down and it should work for you, or you can scale up and it should work for you. Just because your acreage might not fit exactly ours doesn't mean that it won't work for you.
And just because what we're doing works for us doesn't always necessarily mean it works for you. We can get started on that right now. So ideally in raising cattle, you can either buy equipment or you can buy your hay, whichever works best for you. We couldn't guarantee get hay locally here for us that made it cost effective. So we've got equipment. We've got a tractor. We just bought a new baler, and we've also got a fairly new mower that we use for doing all of our own hay.
One thing I want to interject right now is when we talk about new equipment to us, that's exactly what it is, new to us. We have never yet bought a brand new, fresh off the lot piece of equipment that I can think of. It's not in our budget, it's not how we operate, and maybe one of these days we will be successful enough to do that. But I'm just going to be honest with you guys, I'm not sure we ever would. I don't know that it's something that we would ever invest money in to buy brand new farm equipment just to say it's brand new, because you can get some very good used equipment out there.
You can, and one of the main reasons we're not buying new equipment is because we try to run a debt-free operation here. So going in and buying a new tractor, you're looking at, for us, it would be $100,000 plus. Brand new balers, you're looking at $50,000, $60,000 plus. So that's not where we want to go. We want to try to do everything in our means without going in debt.
Which you may be thinking, who could afford that equipment and ever make their money back? Well, there is people out there. If you are custom baling hay, and that's all you do from spring till fall is you bale hay for yourself and other people, you know, you could use and pay off that equipment. That's just simply not what we need the equipment for. We would probably never make enough to pay off that expensive of equipment. So one last thing I want to say about that, because I am a numbers person and I'm just curious. We've gone to conferences that say the best thing to do is quit baling hay to buy hay, because you're buying other people's inputs into that hay. You're buying their fertilizer and everything, and you're feeding your soil with their hay. And yet you're getting to run cattle on all of your land, which is in turn also feeding your soil when they graze it, and, you know, manure and all those things are feeding your soil. So I put the pencil to the paper before and took the same amount of land that we were cutting hay, and I knew how many bales on average we were getting off of that, versus if we were running cattle on that, based on kind of our numbers per acre, head per acre now, which one is more profitable? And it's definitely far and away more profitable to run more cattle and buy hay. That's just the truth. In our area and in our market, and I would assume probably in yours, your hay might be more, but your cattle probably go for more at market. But again, like Ben mentioned, you have to have the hay available to buy. You almost have to have an agreement with someone that they're going to sell you X number of bales, and they're not going to sell that out from under you, or else it just won't work, because then you'll be left with no hay at all.
So moving on from the hay equipment, our next most important thing, I think, is a fence charger. We use electric fencing for our cattle, for our hogs, and we invested in a high quality fence charger. We've got this Gallagher 5800i. That means it's cooking out 58 joules. So when it pops, but it also covers a large area. So our farm, what we do is we've got a 100-acre field right here behind our house that we rotate our cows on, and we have got a fence running right down the center that is hot all the time. And then we've got fences on the hot wires on the outside fences. And what we did is we done a 2-foot offset. Instead of spending all the money on replacing all that old fence, it's growed up in honeysuckle, trees and things like that. Instead of replacing all that, we just offset the hot wire 2 foot off of it, and that saved a lot of money. But then also we've got a hog pen that uses that same electric fence charger, and by golly, you want to shock a hog good to keep them in and make sure they don't get out.
So like Ben was saying, it goes back, it's a 100-acre field, it goes back close to a mile. So it could be doing a mile back there and a mile back up the other side. It could be doing the hog pen, you know, halfway down. It's doing a lot. So that might be too much for your farm. But in our opinion, more is better, because like Ben said, they get shocked on the nose. A hog, they get shocked hard enough, they're not getting out. If your hogs are getting out your hot wire fence, it is not hot enough. We've just learned that over time, and you can get it hot enough to keep them in. I promise you, you can. And so we purchased Gallagher supplies. Like Ben said, we offset old, like barbed wire fence, and some of it was web wire, I guess. It's old. It would have taken so much time, and like Ben mentioned, so much money to replace that. And we literally built this fence in a matter of days, me, you, and the kids. So it was a time thing, and you know, it was just easier.
Labor and expenses. Right.
But we invested in good equipment. We have Gallagher equipment. That's what our charger is. It's one of those things. What?
Well, we've had other equipment.
Oh, yes. That's not what we started with.
No. And you get what you pay for.
And what we started with was a name brand. I'm not going to mention it because I'm not into brand bashing or anything like that. But it was just not the same quality. And
like Andrea said, we're not here to name bash. I'm going to blur that name out. But there's a big charger, 15 joules, supposed to do 200 miles. I think we spent roughly around $200. I can't remember exactly. Does not work. Had it for about a year and 3 months when it quit. And of course it had a 1-year warranty on it. I even had the lightning protection on it. Still does not work.
All right, so that's definitely our top things, but there's several other things that are things that just flat out work on our farm. So we're gonna quickly take you around and just show you a few things here and there that work that you might wanna consider.
And then we're also gonna throw in there some things that we figured out that do not work. So we're right here at the barn. This is something that we're using right now. We normally run our hogs, our breeder hogs, behind barbed wire. I know that's not typical, but we've got ours trained. They've got a big area, and they've never gotten out of barbed wire, but they're breeders, so they're having piglets, and piglets get out of everything. So what we've done is we've got this portable netting. This is hog netting, so it's only, what, 2 foot tall. The bottom wire is not hot. The rest of these are, and you get it on a good fence charger, it will pop them.
And you can see right here, we've just got it clipped into our main system. It's probably, don't you imagine, shorting it out in some places?
Oh yeah. When I look at the output of the charger, it's showing a little bit of a short, but that's grass and weeds and things all over the system.
And just the fact is, when you have a good enough charger, you can afford a few shorts. You get just exactly what you need, and you get a short, and you're in trouble.
Something else that we found that really works is waters like this that pigs cannot get into. They can put their head in there and get a drink out of, but they cannot lay in it. Ponds work the best, but not everybody can have a pond. One thing that does not work is this right here. Water troughs. We have never found water troughs to work for pigs. They lay in them, they break them, they get them, they turn them over, they just make a mess.
They'll work in a pinch if that's all you have and all you can afford, but it's gonna be a headache. One side note I wanna say while we're going to the next thing is, I never tell people that wanna talk about farming or starting or whatever that you need to get everything before you can start. Like, you better build up for years, you better buy tractors and all the equipment, but I will say this, if you're gonna raise hogs, you do need to get the basics, and that is a good hot wire fence, a good fence charger, something to contain them. Don't go buy pigs with nowhere to put them. That's a recipe for disaster and burnout and frustration. So you can make do with a lot of things, but definitely have your enclosures ready before you go buy an animal.
Okay, something else that we'll go over is we're going to go over fence posts and attachments. So this right here is a gate. We've just used poly wire hooked to an insulator, hooked to a clip on the other side. At one time we had a spring gate here. Spring gates did not work for us. They accumulated ice, weighted down, and then also over time they lost their spring, so they did not work for us. We won't ever use one of them again. Another thing is these right here. If you'll come in here close. I showed these on one of our last videos when I was building the pig pen. We bought these right here to go around and insulate off of our steel pipes, but every one of them are cracking. This one got so bad that we split a water hose in two to put around it. I will never purchase them, and I will never recommend them. Don't waste your money on them.
As we're walking to the next thing, you can see this is more of our piglet containment system. These are actually from Gallagher. They produce these. They're for chickens, but it's working beautifully for piglets. You can see it just kind of abruptly ends, but we're quite a ways back here behind the pig pen. So far, they've not come this far and gotten around. That could be a problem, but so far so good.
So these right here are something that we bought when we first started. These are fiberglass posts. I don't exactly know what they was used for, but they were super simple to drive in the ground. All we had to do is drill a hole through them. Whatever height you want your wire, you just drill a hole. They've got kind of like Carter key clips to go through them to hold your wire.
They were inexpensive and they've worked beautifully. We actually did get those from a fence supply store, but if you're new to this and you come across some and you don't know much about working with fiberglass, wear gloves. We did, but we still got pieces of glass in the gloves, and yeah, that's a lot of fun.
A while ago we didn't tell you, but this is high tensile wire. It's very thick, very hard to bend, but also very hard to break. So if you're gonna do permanent hot wire, you really need to use high tensile, thick wire. I forget the thickness on this. I'll look it up and write it down here in the bottom right there. But also when you do that, you buy these, I'm not touching it, but you buy these ratchets and they'll sit there and twist and tighten that and tighten that and tighten that. When you get those, you want to buy springs with them also. This right here is if a deer or cow, we've had cows run into it, whatever, running through and hits the wire, that spring has still got some give in it, and it allows it to give and not break.
Speaking of, isn't that deer right over there?
Yes, it is.
Looking at us?
One of them looked like a buck.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Little buck.
We have a lot of deer, so we have to think about those things, about deer, you know, riding our wire down. It may be different where you are. You may have elk or moose or anything. Just wild animals that can jump your wire, possibly land on it, hit it, whatever. So you need strong wire. You can't go cheap and flimsy on that either, or you'll be redoing it.
Okay, right here is something else that's pretty vital to our farm, and this is our water line. Down underground, we've got this 1.5 inch poly line running all the way from the house, all the way back there to that wood line. This is our water supply for this whole field right here. And then I don't remember what it was, 250 feet or something like that, I installed these underground valves. That don't look like a valve, but it is. It's got a check ball in there, and this right here is the other piece that goes to it. This right here, it clips. This goes down in that hole, and then this clips on the lip on the top of it, and that instantly gives you water.
And locks that in, doesn't it?
Yes. So on them, instead of just putting a lid on them, I cut the bottom out of a 5-gallon bucket, put some spray foam in there to insulate it, slide that over the top. That's my freeze-proof way of protecting that. So we've got a couple different brands of reels out here. This one right here that we're at is, of course, the Gallagher one. It's the one that has actually lasted the longest. On one Gallagher, I did break that because I was pulling. It was my fault. On the other brand we got, it's the same place we bought these posts. They're a little bit older than the Gallagher, but they've started breaking on the reel part. We're not exactly delicate with all of our farm stuff. It gets used, we get in a hurry sometimes, things get dropped. But Gallagher reels, they've been the best. These right here, highly important. You're gonna jumper your hot wire from there to your reel, and we use these everywhere, and we also lose these.
I don't know what brand those are, but you're gonna need them.
Yeah, you can get them anywhere.
And so that little ring he clipped on electrifies all the wire.
Yeah, it's actually, that goes all the way through and comes out this other side. So it's touching that wire in several places inside there.
So these are the things that work on our farm to keep our hot wire system running. Obviously, if you put up a permanent like barbed wire system, you're not going to need all these things, but this is what works on our farm. And these are the types of things that work on our farm as far as electric fencing goes. Let's go look at a couple more before we wrap this up. So this is by no means an extensive list of things that work on our farm and things that don't work on our farm, I should say. It's just the first installment. This is basically the things that work as far as getting started, like with the hot wire system, with the charger, with the equipment. But we will probably do a couple more of these videos of other things that work. There's so many things that we figured out that are must-haves for us. They work, and we will keep using them over and over, and things that we will never use again, that we tried and were an utter fail. So we will probably come back with a couple more of these, because I feel like if you learn something, you should pass that on and share it with others.
So right here, something else. This is brand new, so I can't honestly say how long it's gonna last, but I just put these up last week, and these things are so quick and so easy. They're posts. You don't have to drill no holes. They've got clips. You can put it, I think it was like 13 different levels. So there's another style of post for you.
So Ben just recently put up a video putting these posts in. I'll link that video here if you want to go back and watch it. But one comment we had from other people that we personally know, one was Adler Farms here on YouTube, that they struggle with insulators as well. Insulators that you have to use on T-posts, normally they're yellow, they break, they're crazy, they just don't work. And so hopefully this is going to take care of that problem. I'm hoping this is going to be something that we can tell you in a few months it works, because insulators and hot wire are a problem.
I'm pretty proud of this right here. This is a little thing that I've come up with. We was having to come down here and fill this water up all the time. So I come up with that. It's just some PVC pipe run down to a float valve with a quick connect on it. And I've got it U-bolted to this. That way when it fills up, it's gonna pull the float up and shuts all water off and keeps the pigs watered during the summer. This thing's got a creek flowing through it during the wet time of the year, but during the dry summer, this is how we have to water our pigs. Just thought I'd throw that in there. That's pretty cool. All right, one of the last things I want to talk about is our working system. If you're gonna have quite a few cattle, you're gonna need somewhere to work those cattle. Like us, we're going cow-calf operation all the way up to butcher. So we've got all ranges and sizes of cattle. We'll be giving vaccinations, tagging them, worming them, whatever we have to do. We don't like to give medications, but if it's going to save a cow or an animal, at that matter, if it's going to save its life, we're going to give it medications, just like we would go to the doctor and get medications for ourselves. We will do something to save it. We don't do preventative antibiotics and things like that. But anyway, in all that, a working corral. A working corral seems like a must-have on any cattle operation. And what we've got is a pen or a corral that's got 3 different pens in it. We got a front, a middle, and a back, and an alleyway. I'm going to tell you, this tartar system set up, I know there's several of them out there. This is just what we've got. It's got a sweep tub down on the end. That has been a life changer. Something else that if you can get it, if you're going through cow-calf operation and you might need it, a vet cage where you can come in behind the animal that's in the head chute. Also, this here, got them at front and at middle. This is for an adjustable alleyway, so like right now it's set up for cows, full size, but I can lift this handle up, squeeze it down and make it smaller for calves. Lift it back up, open it back up, make it wider. That keeps your calves, your small calves, from getting in there and turning around, running back out. Things we found out on hogs: if you've got an area that you can work them, I say work them, corral them up. And about the only reason we corral them up is to catch them to go to butcher. This right here is what I've come up with. This is just hog panels built in here. I just got through putting this shell in here because if you know hogs, they make a muddy mess, and there they are out there making a muddy mess. But we've got feeders in here. We feed our hogs 6 pounds of grain per day per hog. We don't do free choice feeders and just give them all the feed they want. That's just not how we operate. We know how much feed we've got to put in them or need to put in them to grow a good hog. We're not going to go over on that because, like, especially right now, we are on a tight budget. Feed costs are up, fuel costs are up, fertilizer costs are up. Everything's just so expensive, so we've got to keep up with how much we're feeding every hog every day. And all these feeders down here, this is the best way we found to do them. We've tried tubs and different things like that, but they throw them everywhere. Even these, you can see that one down on the far end. They've broken the wire loose from the panel, and they will flip them over, turn them upside down. They're hogs and they're stout. So get something that you can anchor it down. If you got somewhere with concrete, works even better. That's what we got up there at the house with our breeders. On loading them out, I built this right here. This is the Joel Salatin style loadout ramp. I've used corrals. It works, but you put them under more stress. I back my trailer into the pen. It works. Feed them in it and they'll start getting accustomed to going in there. But they've chewed my wires up. Anyway, I've tried several different things, and this load ramp, having dirt, has made an entire difference. It is no problem to load these pigs up. All we'll do is we'll swing this green gate around, trap them in there, feeding them, swing it on around, open it up. We've got another hog panel here to close that off. Push them up in here, have the trailer backed up, and you can see the height difference. And they walk right up in there. All right, as you can tell, the sun is down. It's starting to get dark. Like Andrea said, we'll probably throw a few more videos out here of what really works well for us and the things that don't. Because we want to save you money, save you time, save you a headache. That's a big thing. Save you from a headache. So we're going to throw in there the things that don't work, things that we found that don't work. I appreciate y'all watching, and until next time, God bless. This here is kind of my electric fence cabinet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There ain't one in that. There ain't one in that. It's out in this barn. So there's 9 chargers right there. They've all got something wrong with them. And there's 3 more. I think I've got another one somewhere. I've saved all them thinking I'm going to maybe work on them, try to fix them one day. I never figured out how. They just stay in the junk cabinet there.